appreciate it. That is so loud. That is crazy. Okay, so my mission moment is just one. My sorority is having a fundraiser this weekend for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. If you don't know what that is, it's like when your lungs, like the mucus doesn't do what it's supposed to do, so it's kind of like you're breathing through a straw. And it's not curable at the moment. So we're actually having a fundraiser to go to research to find a way to cure it. We are having milkshakes and mini golf on the lawn this Saturday from 3 to 6. It's at the Delta Phi Epsilon House. If you don't know where that is, I can help you, or Google Maps will also tell you. It's awesome. Please come by. Tickets are $7. If you buy them at the door, they're $10. Buy them from me, they're just $7. Save $3. They're having milkshakes. They're also going to have dietary restriction options too. They haven't told me what those are yet, but they say they're going to have them, which is great because I'm dairy free. So yeah. But that's what we're having, and also mini golf and milkshakes. Please come for milkshakes and the kids. It's a fundraiser for the kids. But that's it. So bow your heads, close your eyes, do whatever you do. I'm gonna pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to come here tonight and just spend time with other people. I've been reminded recently how much COVID actually affected our social ability to interact with other people. And it's really nice to just come around other people and feel the love and just see the grace that you give us and the mercy that you allow in our lives. And just thank you. I ask that you'll be with us tonight as we listen to a wonderful message and listen to these wonderful praise songs, because I personally love to praise to you, Lord. I ask that you'll just be with us and open our hearts and open our minds to hear what you have to say. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm Brian. I used to work here. I'm singing songs with you guys. So we're going to go into a time of musical worship. So if you would, stand up. If you feel comfortable, come to the front. I haven't worshiped with people here since February of 2020 and coming up to the front. So real quick, as you're coming up, turn to your neighbor, give an air high five or high five. Also, we're well supplied this question to ask each other. What is the lowest score that a restaurant can get on their health score that you are comfortable eating at that restaurant? Go. Oh. Also, I'm going to play the concept in the session. You stood outside my grave with tears still on your face. I heard you say my name. My life was turned today. You came. I knew you love. You saved. My heart is open. I'm not afraid to see your face. I am alive. You came. I knew that you loved. You said there's only sleeping. With one word, my heart was beating. I rose up from my grave. My fear was
please welcome up Nathan. So while we do a really quick switcheroo, I'm just going to introduce some potentially new faces. If you didn't hear him the first time, this is Brian. He used to have my job before I took it from him. He also wrote this next song that we're going to sing, him and his band New Realm. So, yeah, and then this is Shaylin. I like her. Shaylin was a backbone with me. We went through CCF all 4 years. She was my roommate, my maid of honor, my best friend. I will talk so much about her. Please ask me anything. Yeah, anyway, this is our alumni staff member. I'm gonna cry. Cry! But anyway, thanks for letting us do something. What's your name with us? Not yet! I'm not crying yet. Let's go ahead and get this song that's a little bit lower, a little bit more subtle, but it's a good one. You meet me by the river. You speak to me. You speak to me. I came tired with her. But here I mercy stream. I rest in thee. Oh, I have life in thee. Peace be still. Know that I am God. I am still. I know that I am You lead me by the river. The moon gives me sight, and I'll shine tonight. The sun takes my failures. I look in your eyes, find faith and light, will be satisfied. Peace be still. Know that I am God. I am still. Know that I am You are my refuge, you are my strength. You take every rock that I breathe. You throw them in the holy stream. I am weightless with new life and me. The sweet aroma of the peace. It once was dead, but now they dream. Whose root springs up from this tree. You see these roots I walk through the hill. I'll be your warm and gentle breeze. Speaks to me and now I'm free. I feel what parts of privilege. And my soul from seeking. Now I know you bring me. You're my other day.
All right, so normally I get up here and I'm like, hey, give it up for the praise band because they're awesome. And they are every week. But I can't really talk about that much this week. If I do, I'm definitely going to start crying. I don't want to start the talk crying. So I want that Brian Wallace dude. Shannon Curtis too. She hasn't been in a while, did she? We affectionately refer to our alums as has-beens, affectionately. Seriously. I heard of one school that when people transfer where they call them could-have-beens. So I'm not sure how I feel about that one. But anyway, hey, you are at Christian Campus Fellowship. If you did not know that. And dinner and a message, or as we like to call it, DAM. And this is your last damn chance to be here on a Thursday, as we like to say affectionately. And if you're like, what do you say? Dinner and a message, DAAM. That's not that big a deal. So, my name is Donnie. I am one of your staff members. And tonight I have the task of finishing up our theme. Every year we have a theme and we paint the room accordingly. So when you show up for the next dinner and a message in August, the room will look completely different. I know, right? And technically it will be just a little bit smaller. So see the ground. It would be really cool. It would be cool to get an X-ray and like look at all of the different. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, that's been our theme all year. What just happened and why? What just happened and why? Looking at miracles, stories in the Bible that can't be explained, but really asking ourselves not so much how this happened, what in fact happened, but why. Why has really been the question that we have been wrestling with, even though, frankly, our theme verse kind of answers the why. These miracles have been written so that you will believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and so that you will have life by believing in him. So our theme verse really answers our why question. We really believe that these miracle stories are in the Bible so that we'll believe Jesus is who he says he is. And that by believing that, we will have life in him. And that why question matters and is relevant and is worth asking, even if you're not really sure about Christianity, the church, Jesus, whatever. Because even if you think the entire Bible's made up, which, spoiler, I don't, but if you think the whole thing's made up, then you still need to ask yourself, well, why put these stories in? What are they trying to say? Because all of these stories tell us something about God and something about Jesus, the miracles that Jesus did. And so tonight is, I feel like for the last one, put a little undue pressure on myself since it's the last one, but I'm sure nobody in the room knows what it's like to put extra pressure on yourself. Nobody has any. That's definitely just a me thing. But it is the last one, so I do want to, have something that really sticks with us for a little bit. And I think tonight will. I am praying and hopeful that it will, and we'll just, if I can get out of the way and let God say what he wants to say, I think it'll be really good. So to that end, let me pray, and we will get started. God, thank you for a year of dinner and a message in this house, which we did not get last year. So thank you for a year of it. And thank you for dinners, and thank you for each person that is here tonight. God, I really do feel like, once again, you have written the talk. And so I just pray that you would say what you want to say. Don't let me say anything you don't want to, and make me say the stuff that you want me to say, even if I may not want to say it. And I just pray that you would speak for me and hear for each of us what you want us to hear tonight. I trust that you've got those of us here tonight that you want to be here for this message. So I pray that you would make it good and that it will be all about you. Thank you for Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. All right, so lighthearted start. What are you afraid of? Yeah, no big deal. We'll start with this. All right, some of the most common things, according to the internet, which is obviously accurate, heights, spiders, snakes, clowns, public speaking. Now, the creepy part is that's not the creepiest clown picture I found. That's one of the most normal clown pictures I found. But that one I got to admit, I don't get that. I don't get the clown thing. I understand it freaks some people out, but it's fine. If it's your thing, that's totally cool. Public speaking, obviously I'm cool with that. Snakes and spiders, and I'm not going to go like Steve Irwin and be like, crikey, she's a beaut, and pick it up with my bare hands or anything. But I'm not going to freak out if I see one or whatever. Okay, but oh no, I'm not, because height. No, that dude's crazy. Sitting on the edge of that cliff, it's like, what is wrong with you, man? I mean, that's just no. I don't. I have been bungee jumping. I don't know what I was thinking. It was pretty fun. But we've all got stuff like this, right? You know, things that are just kind of like, I don't think so. I actually used to work with somebody at a job before I came here, who he was legit scared of zombies. Like, not like had bad dreams when he watched zombie stuff, like legit thought it was going to happen. Like, yeah, and was like legit scared of it, to the point that he actually said, I don't think I would have liked to have been around when the resurrected Jesus was walking around, because that's kind of creepy. And I was just like, dude, he wasn't undead Jesus. He was like real alive Jesus. But he just really had a hard time with that. I mean, yeah, but to the point of, I wouldn't want to have seen the resurrected Jesus. I'm like, you wouldn't, because here's the thing. I think sometimes we have this misunderstanding that Jesus, came back from the dead and then was just gone, and that's not what happened. He was actually on earth for about 6 weeks between his resurrection and his ascension back up into heaven. He did make that noise when he went there. And during that time, during those about 6 weeks, he did actually a lot of miracles, which you're kind of like, well, it's Jesus, and what do you expect? That's what he did. So we're going to look at 2 of them tonight. 2 that I think are really helpful to us, because we are going to see that Jesus' close followers had some of the same challenges that we have. But if I won't mess it up, I think what God wants to tell us tonight and make this useful is that we have a much easier way to overcome these challenges that they didn't have. So we're going to look at 2 stories that actually are found in the last chapter of 2 different Gospels. If you're not familiar with the Bible, the Gospels, and gospel just means good news. The first 4 books of the New Testament, or as I refer to it, the first 4 episodes of season 2 of the Bible, are called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, named after the 4 men credited with writing them. And these are the stories of Jesus' time on earth. And all of them account the resurrection. Some of them don't say a whole bunch after, but John and Luke both have a lot. And so we're going to start off looking at a story from Luke, and then we're going to dive into a story from John, because we see a similar theme, in these 2 miracle stories that is really useful to us, which might not be obvious at first glance, but we will get there. So the Luke 24 story, I'm going to kind of summarize, and then there's going to be a couple of verses here and there because it's kind of a long story. But basically, 2 of Jesus' closest followers, one we're told his name is Cleopas, and the other one we're not told who he is. I don't know. But they are walking. They are headed to a town called Emmaus. They are leaving Jerusalem, where all the events of Jesus' arrest and trial and crucifixion and resurrection have happened. They're leaving Jerusalem and headed to Emmaus. And Jesus shows up and starts walking with them. But they don't recognize Jesus. I don't know if the resurrected Jesus came back as a ginger or with longer hair or what, but somehow they were just like, oh, who's this dude? And so they're walking, and he's like, so guys, what are you talking about? And Luke literally says they stopped and were sad. So they're like, this is like, And they say, are you the only, they sass Jesus. They don't realize it's Jesus, but they sass him. They're like, are you the only one in Jerusalem who doesn't know the things that have happened? And Jesus looks directly into the camera and goes, what things? And so this dude Cleopas kind of summarizes. He's like, about Jesus Nazareth, he's a prophet. He did a lot of really cool stuff, taught some really cool stuff. And things were going well until some of our religious leaders got together and conspired with some of the Romans. And the next thing you know, he was dead. And this is an important thing that they say in verse 21, we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. We had hoped. Had. Didn't have it anymore. Okay? By the way, I mentioned earlier, it's like, even if you believe the whole Bible's made up, if you make up the Bible, you don't paint yourself as the unfaithful person who completely lost hope. But that's what the disciples do after Jesus' death. Even after his resurrection. They're just like, what? Because even at this point, Jesus has already been raised. Because they even mentioned that. They're like, yeah, we heard that they said his tomb's empty, but we don't know. We had hope. They're done. As far as they're concerned, this Jesus thing is over. That's why they're going to Emmaus. They're going home. They're just they're finished. They're leaving Jerusalem. And if you're like, well, why'd they wait until Sunday? Well, because Jesus was killed on Friday, late in the day, the sun went down, that made it the Sabbath, and you can't travel on the Sabbath. So they had to wait until Sunday. But Jesus hears all of this, and his response is kind of textbook Jesus, verses 25 through 27. And he said to them, "Oh, foolish ones!" Great, you idiots. "Slow of heart to believe all the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets," that's a lot of the stuff in season 1 of the Bible, what we call the Old Testament. "He interpreted to them all of those scriptures, the things concerning himself." So Jesus basically is like, okay, guys, you've missed it. Because all of these scriptures that y'all know, they're all about that person you're talking about. Which sounds like a cool story. Maybe you're like, where's the miracle? Well, here's the miracle. This is Jesus is funny, y'all. This is good stuff. So continuing verse 28. "So they drew near to the village to which they were going. He acted as if he were going further." Oh, just keep going. "But they urged him strongly, saying, 'Stay with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is now far spent.' So he went to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took the bread, and he blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to them. And their eyes were open, and they recognized him, and he gone. He vanished from their sight." I love the idea that he broke the bread and started to hand it to him, but not at the table because he's just gone. And I don't know if that's what happened, but that's what I think happened. So if these are some of Jesus' closest followers, this looks very familiar to what had happened Thursday night when Jesus instituted what's called the Lord's Supper or communion or Eucharist, whatever you may have heard it referred to as. So they recognize Jesus because he does something that reminded them of something he'd already done before. And he's gone, and they're like, "I think that was Jesus. I think it was too." Duh. And then they run back to town. 7 miles, so impressive in sandals. So that's how there's a little bit more. That's pretty much how Luke's gospel story kind of wraps up until he continues things into what is episode 5 of season 2, which is a book called Acts, which is all about what Jesus' closest followers did after that. But John has a different story that happens after Jesus' resurrection. And this is just, man, this is entertaining too, I think. This is good stuff. So John 21, starting at verse 2, it'll be up here. "Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee," that's James and John, yes, the John credited with writing this, "and 2 others of his disciples were together." So a whole bunch of Jesus' closest followers are hanging out. "And Simon Peter says to them, 'I am going fishing.' And they said to him, 'We will go with you.'" Little segue here to talk about leadership. This is how you know you're a leader. If you look behind you and people are following you. Nobody's following you. It doesn't matter what kind of leadership skills you say you have. You're not a leader. So Peter's a leader because he's like, "I want to go fishing." And they're like, "All right, let's do it." So we're going to go with you. They went out, got in the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just as day was breaking, because you fish all night long, Jesus stood on the shore. Yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. The ginger mullet thing again, I guess. Then Jesus said to them, y'all, Jesus is so sassy. Look at this language. "Children, do you have any fish?" They answered him, "No." So he says to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John's nickname for himself, which is weird. But John says to Peter, "It is the Lord." And Peter goes, "No joke, John." And then Peter jumps in and actually swims to shore, which is kind of crazy. But they recognize him because this reminded them of something that had happened before. Okay, Peter, James, John, and Peter's brother Andrew, I don't know if he's here in this story or not, they were fishermen. This exact same thing happened that led them to start following Jesus. They started following Jesus because after another fishless night, Jesus said, "Why don't you try fishing over there?" And the boat started to sink. They caught so many fish. They were fishermen. Jesus did this provided this miraculous catch of fish, and they started following Jesus. That's back at the beginning of multiple of the gospel accounts. These fishermen don't have anything. Jesus does a miracle of fish, and they start following him. So why would Jesus do the exact same miracle again? I think for the exact same reason. To get them to follow him. And if you're asking yourself, well, hold up, Donnie, are you suggesting that these closest followers of Jesus had stopped following Jesus? Yeah, because I think they had. Okay, Peter only went fishing. He was a fisherman by trade. And we know at the beginning of the gospel account, he went fishing, caught nothing. Jesus does a miracle and starts following Jesus. And then we have this story of him fishing again. There's only one other time in between in that whole span when we hear of Peter fishing. And it's when some people were arguing with Jesus about taxes. And Jesus is finally just like, all right, Peter, go get a line and a hook and throw it in the ocean, the sea. And the first fish you catch, open up its mouth, and it'll have a coin in there that'll pay both of our taxes. I don't know why we didn't talk about that miracle this year, because that's crazy. But that's the only time between when Jesus starts calling Peter and here that Peter went fishing. Peter had stopped being a fisherman because he was with Jesus. But now he's gone back. He's gone back to life as it was before Jesus. And James and John, at least, and maybe Andrew's one of those two unnamed, they were right there with him. They'd gone back to life as it was before. They had just spent 3.5 years. Most Bible scholars will tell you that Jesus' ministry was about 3.5 years. They had spent 3.5 years in a close-knit, relatively small community that was centered around Jesus. But now that season was over. And so they were going back to life as it was before that. Which for me brings us back to our original question of what are you afraid of? But really, it changes to what are you really afraid of? Like not things like snakes and spiders, which I get can be a big deal, but what really freaks you out? If you've ever seen the horrendously terrible Keanu Reeves football movie, The Replacements, like bad movie nights are wonderful things. To watch a movie that's so bad, it's just entertaining watch, and this would be one. They have this scene where they start talking about being afraid of like bees and spiders, but then it gets really, really deep. Because they start talking about like legit fears. And like when it comes to my fears, no, I don't like heights. I am not a fan. But my biggest fear, without question, is not being there. The thought of something happening to my wife Beth or either of our girls, Lexi and Karen, and me not being there. It's terrifying. That is without question my biggest fear. About 10 years ago, I was filling out a job application to be for the position of lead pastor at this campus ministry called Christian Campus Fellowship at UGA. I'll let you figure out how that application process went. And one of the questions was, what's your biggest fear in ministry? And what I put then, and what I would still say now, is that my biggest personal fear in ministry is that me being in full-time ministry would have a detrimental impact on my faith or on my family. Without question, my biggest personal fear when it comes to ministry. Because, y'all, there are a lot of people that aren't just former pastors or former Christians. That is terrifying to me. And there are even more ministers who have sacrificed their family on the altar of ministry. And I will not do that. So, yes, when my family gets here on Thursday nights, they get my attention. I don't forget y'all are here, but they're my priority. Okay, I have missed socials because I just needed to be home. And if you're waiting for me to apologize for that, well, don't hold your breath, because I'm not going to. Okay, I mean, I honestly think that's one of the most important things I can show y'all for life is what it looks like to try to be a godly husband, father. I don't pull it off. I'm not, just ask him. I'm not perfect. All sorts of issues. But to try it is an important thing. That's my biggest personal fear in ministry. But it's different when I look at my biggest pastoral fear in ministry. The fear that has to do with y'all. The fear that has to do with with students and alums. And that is that CCF will be the highlight of your walk with Jesus. This, there's not much that keeps me up at night. I tend to sleep. But this wake, I mean, honestly, this is one of those things sometimes I wake up thinking about it, which is not good. Because if the highlight of your walk with Jesus is your time at CCF, if your years here are the peak of your relationship with God, then as your lead pastor, I have failed you. Period. Now, should this time be impactful? Yeah, I hope so. I mean, absolutely. I think for a lot of people, depending on where you are with this whole Jesus dude and this whole Christianity thing, when you come in, your time at CCF might be formative for your faith. It might be where your faith really forms. It might be reformative, transformative, maybe some combination of all of those, just depending on where you are with Jesus when you come in. But it must never be the highlight. It is terrifying and heartbreaking for me when I think about and see alums who were not just came every now and then, but actively involved, and in some cases, even on leadership. And then years removed from here, they're in the same place with their relationship with Jesus. Or worse yet, maybe they've even regressed. And I get that I'm not responsible for anybody else's actions. I understand that I can't blame myself for what other people do, but I have to ask myself, and I oftentimes do, did I do enough? Did I give you the tools to keep building? Some people come to y'all, and this is where God lays the foundation of their faith because there wasn't anything before. Other folks come in and they have a foundation, but God builds on it. And some of us have some stuff built, and God demos some stuff and then rebuilds some stuff. And that's good. That's what God does. My question for myself is, did I do enough to give you the tools to keep building in a meaningful way? Because here's the thing. I have no interest, none, in leading anybody into becoming a Christian, whatever that is. Because y'all, I don't even know anymore. I've been texting back and forth with folks, throwing some ideas around. I don't even know. I want y'all to be Christian, the verb, like Christ. Not verb, the adjective, whatever. I've taught math. But being a Christian is a verb. You have to do stuff. It is an action. But I want you to actually be like Christ. I am not interested in just you becoming actively involved here. Yeah, I want you to do that. But that's not it. I'm interested in leading y'all into becoming lifelong disciples of Jesus Christ. That's my job. That's my responsibility. And I don't have a job. I have a responsibility to be faithful with the people that God has trusted me with. Okay, now I work my tail off. It is like a job, trust me. But I don't think of it as a job. I think of it as a responsibility to be faithful with y'all. Bless you. And I love you lovable people that sneeze right in the middle of my talk. But it's fine. I don't know, Riley. It just happened. Lifelong disciples of Jesus. That's what I want y'all to be, which is great, unless you don't know what a disciple is. So, non-rhetorical question, what does disciple mean? Like, actually. Yeah. What does that mean? A devoted person, okay. The Greek word literally means learner or pupil. It means student. And you're like, oh, I am that. Yes, but of Jesus is the point. Okay? When we first became students, now not here, not at UGA or Adams Tech or UNG or wherever you are, but when you first became a student, like back in kindergarten, learning to read, that was the thing, right? Learning to read. And you do that for a while until it moves, being a student moves from learning to read to reading to learn. Wow. Right, that's the thing. See, 2 education degrees from UGA, y'all. I got this stuff. But y'all, here's the thing. That hasn't changed. And that's not just about school stuff. That's just life in general. Reading's a great way to learn. And when it comes to not wanting you to go back to life before CCF, whatever that was for you, just like the disciples had seemingly gone back to life before Jesus, we have something they didn't have. Something that we can read to make sure we don't regress. Yeah, it's another read the Bible talk.
Amen.
Okay? Now, here's why it's another read the Bible talk. Because anytime I do read the Bible talks, I start rolling back in people's heads. Like, oh, he's going to talk about read the Bible again. Yeah, you know why? Because this stuff, these things were written so that you will believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and so that you will have life by believing in him. And if you're like, no, that verse is, yeah. And if you're like, no, that verse is just about miracles. Actually, that's a kind of a lousy translation of the Greek. It literally says these things. So, these things, like all of it. This is what Jesus basically did. He didn't have one of these. This is what he did for the disciples on the road to Emmaus. Because here's the thing about the Bible. It'll make your life better, and it'll make you better at life. Even if you decide you don't want to follow Jesus. Seriously, it's that good. If you decide you don't want to follow Jesus, I think it's a mistake. Don't do that. But if you decide that you don't want to, you should still read the Bible. Because it does show you the best way to live. A way that will make your life better and make you better in life. Now, the problem with doing talks about, hey, you need to read the Bible, is everybody feels like I'm judging them for not reading the Bible as much as I do, or they feel like I'm trying to guilt you into reading the Bible. Guilt's a horrible motivator. It's terrible. It doesn't work. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. If you feel convicted, well, maybe that should tell you something.
Yeah.
But that's on you. Keep that in mind as you read this next slide, which is going to make everybody angry.
That's right.
If I'm too busy, and I made an eye, so nobody felt like I was pointing fingers, but if I'm too busy to read the Bible, I'm too busy. Now, Donnie, that's not fair. You do not know what's going on in my life. You don't know all the stuff I've got going on. That's not fair. Well, first of all, neither's life, so. And it may not be fair, but it's true. That's just the facts, y'all. It's just true. Now, I would like some participation on this. If you don't want to raise your hand, you don't have to. I'm going to raise mine because it's applicable to me too. Raise your hand if you play Wordle. Come on, Wordle. Now, or any of those other dual games. There's all sorts of them. Global, Flaggle, Foodle. There's a million. Okay, now, if you're not familiar with Wordle, 6 guesses to pick a 5-letter word. It's crazy. It's a good. I enjoy it. It wakes up my brain. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying a Wordle, 5-letter word. Ooh, Satan's a 5-letter word. So's Jesus, so it's okay. Wordle's fine. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing, but to go like full-fledged dad and lead pastor here, we spent all this time on Wordle. We could be spending time in the Word. That's a Roel Salinas-ism right there. I got that from Rosen. So, but look, I'm not saying don't do Wordle. My whole family does Wordle, all 4 of us. One day last week, only Carrington got the word. I'm not kidding. She's 9. She's 9. The rest of us are like, dang, good job, okay. Look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Wordle. I'm saying if you've got time for that, you've probably got time to read the Bible some too. Because there's no better way to learn about Jesus than to read the Bible. And there's no better way to be reminded about Jesus. That's what Jesus did on the road to Emmaus with the disciples. And they recognized it. After he disappeared, verse 32, they say this to each other. Did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road, while he opened to us the scriptures? They couldn't exactly figure out what was going on. But when he was basically reading the Bible to them, even though they didn't have the Bible then, but Jesus knew it, so he was just going through it. Things were just getting their attention, and it was hitting them. Now, for me, when I read the Bible, I feel really connected with Jesus. That is how I feel most connected to Jesus, is reading the Bible. And I understand that is not the case for everybody. I understand that for a lot of people, it's music, it's being outside in God's creation, it's maybe some meditative silence, maybe it's acts of service. I get that. Those are your ways you feel most connected to Jesus, most connected to God. But the thing is, if you don't know Jesus, you don't know who you're connecting to. Now, when you know him, yeah, worship songs hit different. Okay, when you know that according to multiple authors of the Bible, of things in the Bible, that Jesus was the instrument of God's creation, like that everything was created through and by Jesus, then yeah, a red-tailed hawk flying up above you hits very differently. When you know that Jesus said he didn't come to be served, but to serve, your own acts of service, they hit differently. But those things that we use to connect aren't good if we don't know who we're connecting to. And there's no better way to learn about Jesus than reading the Bible. Now, I'm the one who has stood here before and will no doubt stand here again and say that knowing about Jesus is not the same as knowing Jesus. And that is true. That is absolutely true. There are a lot of folks that read the Bible and know about Jesus, but their life shows they don't really know him. That's a thing. Lots of people have read some of the Bible and love pulling verses out of context. Woo! It's like you keep using that verse. I don't think it means what you think it means. But the only way to know if someone has pulled something from the Bible out of context is to know the context. Okay, and here's the thing, y'all. I know when it happens. Pretty much every time somebody pulls something out of context, I can spot it because I read the Bible every single day. And you're like, well, yeah, but you're a minister. That's probably what you do from like 10 to 11 around here. No! 5:45 to 6:15 a.m. That's when I read the Bible. You're like, I'm not a morning person. Guess I can't do that. No, it's not about being in the morning. I do it in the morning because that's the easiest time to do it. Believe it or not. Now, I know it's not the case for some people. Some people 1:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. would work, but not me. But I carve, that's 30 extra minutes of sleep I could get every day. It's not now, to be clear, it's not 5:45 to 6:15 on the weekends because we'll sleep then. But that's what 5:45 to 6:15, Monday through Friday, my kitchen table. That's where I am. I already got up earlier, got myself ready, good to go, and I spend that time reading. Now, I want to make this very clear. That doesn't make me better than you. It does make me better than the me I would be if I didn't read the Bible every day. Okay, me reading my Bible every day does not make me better than anybody, except the me I would be if I didn't read the Bible every day. Because the Bible will make your life better and make you better off. Now, a lot of people don't believe that because of the way the Bible has been, I want to give the benefit of the doubt and say taught, but more like the way the Bible has been thrown at them. Okay, and I get that, and I want to talk about that for a little bit. There's plenty of places I could go, plenty of topics I could go with, but I'm going to go with one that I feel like comes up most often. For centuries, as long as there has been a Bible, honestly, before there was a Bible, people have misused a man named Paul's words to demean and degrade women. They have misused his words. If you're not familiar, Paul, first ever Christian missionary, traveled around the world, Mediterranean world, telling people about Jesus, started a bunch of churches, wrote a bunch of letters to those churches. And I think even before the Bible was put together, somewhere in the 3rd, 4th century, I think people were probably misusing Paul's letters, even then. And people still do this. They use a few quotes pulled out of context to demean and degrade women. And they are wrong for this, unequivocally. It demonstrates a lack of understanding of Paul on their part. but so does saying that Paul doesn't respect women. Now let me explain, because this can get a little confusing. I realize. It is a misuse of Paul's writing to use them to demean women. Period. It is also a misuse of Paul's writings to use them to say that Paul is a misogynistic jerk who doesn't care about women at all. Okay? That is a misuse. That is a way you can tell me you haven't read Paul without telling me you haven't read Paul. Because if you read all of the letters that are attributed to Paul, you see a man who calls a woman named Junia an apostle and calls a woman named Phoebe a deacon. These are church leadership positions. This is a man who respected women greatly. So when we use one or two, it's like a handful, it's less than 5 verses to just pull them out and say Paul doesn't respect women, that would be like you sending a really good friend of yours a massively long text, and somebody somehow getting a hold of that text and pulling one sentence out of that text and deciding that you're a horrible person based on that one sentence that you didn't even write to them. Do not hear this at all as me excusing the people who misuse Paul to degrade and demean women, because I will never excuse that, because that is not okay. Okay, but it's equally not okay for us to accuse Paul of something that's just not true. It's just not. Yeah, but Paul says to be silent. Yeah, in 3 chapters for women to be silent. Yeah, in 3 chapters before that, women, when you pray and prophesy. Well, how can that be? I know the context. Happy to talk to you about it if you want to. Lots of people misuse the Bible. And the only way to know that it's being misused is if you know it. And you can't know it just by listening to me. Or anybody else for that matter. We've got to read it. But don't just read it to be able to point out its misusage. Don't do that. Don't read it. Don't read it for ammunition so you can take out people that disagree with you. Don't do that. Don't read it so you can change others. Read it so that God can change you.
That's right.
Yeah, that just came to me. That was a good one. That is not on my notes. That's a good one, God. I like that one a lot. But read the Bible, because the Bible will make your life better and will make you better at life. Because that's what Jesus does. He makes people better and he makes life better. All year long. That's what we've been looking at. Miracles. How Jesus makes life better and makes people better. That's what he does. And this is the story of Jesus. The whole thing. Not just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are the stories of Jesus' life on earth. This whole thing is about Jesus. The entire thing. And this isn't a book. It's a library. And when you go in the front door of the library, over on this wall is all the history. If you go dead center, there's some poetry and some wisdom literature and a steamy little section called the Song of Solomon. That is not an allegory for God and the church. It is not. Woo! Over on this side, there's a whole bunch of letters. And then at the very end, on the far right wall, there's a super confusing book called Revelation that Brandon Helton would love to talk to you about. Because he's going to be like, it's not as confusing as you think. So it's a library. But here's the thing about the library. It is available for us. It was not written to us. You have to remember that, because context matters. And none of this was written to us. Now, did God make sure that it was preserved and passed down and taken care of for us? I absolutely believe that. But it wasn't written to us. And that's why, since it wasn't written to us, I'm going to say something that sounds very strange, but don't read Bible verses. Read context. Don't just read a little bit here and there. Yes, there are a bunch of Bible apps that have, verses of the day and stuff, and that's cool, but don't stop with that. And I realize that the thought might be, okay, I want to read, but I don't know where to start. I don't have a Bible. I don't have a Bible app. I don't even know where to even begin. Well, this meeting room has double doors on the way out. And the one on the left has 12 names and phone numbers of people that would love to talk to you about that. Okay, all of us on staff, all of our GAs, all of our MAs would love to talk to you if you have questions about how you start to read the Bible. And I don't mean that's our job, so we have to do it. Highlight of my day oftentimes is somebody plopping down on the blue couch in our office and being like, all right, so I was reading this. Or I get the random text of, hey, Donnie, I know it's late, but like, random Bible question? I got to be honest, if it's late, I'm probably going to be like, keep you on the red seat tomorrow. Family time again. But seriously, a highlight of my day is talking Bible with students or alums. I still get that. I get plenty of alums sending me questions. Like, hey, I was just reading this, and I love it. I absolutely love it. That lets me know that maybe at least with those folks, I did what I was supposed to do. So if you're not sure where to start, I'll be back there for the rest of the night, and I'm happy to have that conversation. Anybody on staff, any of our MAs and GAs. And no, I don't have a cookie cutter. I'm going to tell everybody to start in the same place. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to ask you some questions and see what you're looking for and try to figure out what you need and what will benefit you, and then, give you some ideas and go from there. I really do hope that CCF is a highlight of your time in college. But it terrifies me to think that it could be the highlight of your walk with Jesus. So I'm trying to give you some tools to do that. But honestly, it's not about me giving you tools, because the best tool for that, I didn't have anything to do with. This is your toolbox. It's your toolbox for making your life better and making you better at life. So pick it up and spend some time in it every day. And may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all as we read the Bible to make our lives better and make us better at life. Let's pray. God, we are thankful for your word. We are thankful that we have it just so readily available. God, we're thankful for the people that for hundreds of years wrote this thing down by hand and just made copy after copy after copy so that we can have it so readily available. God, there are a lot of things clamoring for our attention, but none of them will make our life better and make us better at life the way your word does. God, thank you for your word. Thank you that it is living and active. Thank you that it is never dull, that it is never boring, that it is the greatest library, the greatest collection of literature the world has ever known. And thank you that you use it every single day to reveal to us you and your nature and your Son and the fact that you love us so much that all you want is a relationship with each of us. God, help us to put in the time and the work to build that relationship with you. God, I pray for our graduates. I pray for folks that this might be their last bit of the message, God. I pray, one, that they know that the big new house is always home. But I pray also, God, that whether it was a conversation with another student or some interaction with a staff member or a talk or a program or whatever, God, I pray that you have given each person in this room the tools to continue building a relationship with you. You are so good to us. God, I thank you for each person in this room and just how much this CC fam means to me. Thank you for the blessing it is in my life. And I pray that it's a blessing for every person that walks into this house. Thank you for Jesus. Thank you for loving us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We're about to enter into our second time of worship. And I just want to invite y'all, whatever that needs to look like for you, whether it's sitting in your seats, journaling, praying, going to the back and receiving prayer from some of our staff members and backbones, or asking Donnie any questions you have. We're here, we're available, we want to hear your questions, we want to be a part of your wrestling with all these things. We're gonna sing the song. It's an oldie, we haven't sang it this year yet, but it's one of my favorites. And I think that it's really applicable right now to remind us that God is bigger than our darkness. Jesus is the thing that dispels it. And for me, Donnie was talking about how the Bible is this gift, and yet it has done harm. And that's really hard to wrestle with, and that's really hard to come to terms with, especially if you've experienced that in your own life. And I know for me, I get really angry and I get really upset because it's so much bigger than I am. And verse 2 says, call the sea to still, the rage in me to still every wave, knowing that Jesus makes our darkness dispel and tremble. And he's the one who silences our fear of unknowing, our fear of having the wrong answer, our fear of not knowing the right thing to say or the right thing to do. We don't have to know, he does. We don't have to have that power, he does, and we have access to it. Wherever you are tonight with what Donnie was saying, with the songs that we've been singing, I just ask, engage in worship now. Come to the front, scream, sing with us, probably also cry with us. Go to the back for prayer, whatever you need, please go ahead and stand and do that now. Bring it all to peace. The storms surrounding me, let it break. Let your name still. Call the sea to still. The rage in me to still. Every wave. At your name, Jesus. Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Call these bones to live. Call these lungs to sing once again. I will praise Jesus, Jesus. You make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light forever and high. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light forever and high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, you make darkness tremble. Jesus. You make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. You silence fear. Jesus, Jesus. You make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus.
Y'all coming more in you? As you can tell, when I'm not behind the keys, I get to move around a lot more. I love that y'all are up here worshiping with us as well. I'm just going to talk about this next one because it's called Jireh, and that's a word that you don't hear very much. If you've heard the phrase Jehovah Jireh, it's a name of God. It basically means the Lord will provide. So Jireh is just another word for provider. So the song is all about how God provides for us and loves us even more than we know and more than we can see or even imagine. But it's really cool. It's one of our favorites to do. And we're going to sing it now. So sing with us.
I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now.
Going through the storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carrying the rhythm of the winds to call me out. You would cross an ocean, so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. You are Jireh. You are enough. Yes, you are Jireh. You are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh. You are enough. Never enough. Always enough. More than enough. Never enough. Always enough. More than enough. Don't circumstance. You are Jireh. You are enough. Always enough. Always more than enough. Never enough. Always enough. Always more than enough. I'm already loved. Already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved. More than I can imagine. That is love. I'm already loved. Already loved. Already chosen. I know who I am. What you spoken. More than I can imagine. That is love. 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 You are enough. 'Cause I am enough. You are enough. I am enough. You are Jireh. You are enough. You are Jireh. You are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh. You are enough. Never enough. Always enough. Always more than enough. Never enough. Always enough. Always more than enough. If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, how much more will he love you? How much more will he love you? If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he love you? If you are the every sparrow, how much more will he love you? How much more? How much more? How much more? How much over the water, Spirit, come move over us. Rest on us. Rest on us. Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come move over us. Rest on us. Rest on us. Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you feel the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will really come down. Spirit, when you do, you make my heart pound. When you feel the room, you're here and I know you are moving. I'm here and I know you will really. Yes, you will. Spirit was moving over the water, Spirit, come move over us. make my heart pound. When you feel the room, you're here and I know you. I'm here and I know you. Spirit, when you move, you make my heart pound. When you feel the room, I'm here and I know you. I'm here and I know you. You're all we want. You're all we want. Holy Spirit, come rest on us. You're all we want. You're all we want. Holy Spirit, come rest on us. You're all we want. You're all we want. Holy Spirit, come rest on us. You're all we want. You're all we want. Spirit, when you make my heart pound. When you feel the room, you're here and I know you. I'm here and I know you. Spirit, when you make my heart pound. When you feel the room, you're here and I know you. I'm here and I know you will be.
Thank y'all for worshiping with us. Ooh, my goodness. You are welcome to please go back to your seats, take a breath, and as you're doing that, we're going to watch a video. 2, 3, 4.
Guys, I am so sorry. I'm practicing for an ultimate frisbee league that I'm playing this summer. By the way, are you guys free?
Actually, I'm going home to work because there's not anything happening now. That sucks, man. What about you? I'm going to be stuck in the middle of the ocean on a lifeboat. Wow.
That's terrible. You guys don't have to do those things. You know that we're going to be doing stuff at CCF all summer long. You know, we got camping trips, tubing trips, hot dams starting out in June.
Yeah, but there's not going to be anybody in Athens to do those things.
That's a good point. Summer interns. Who would make a good team of summer interns? I know one person.
Yeah, I'd love to be a part of the team. Hang on, I think I knew someone. Oh? Networking!
Oh yeah, I can totally do that. Yeah, I think I know a fourth person. Okay.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Another one!
Hello? Say what? Of course I will join the team.
Spell it more. I need to see.
Don't be stressed.
We won't leave you stranded.
We're gonna be living it up here and all summer long.
We hope to see you there.
What are these young guys?
Whoa, bro! Do it back.
Summer Burton.
I love him.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Megan, I don't know if you knew this, but the house is open during the summertime. We're going to be doing fun stuff all summer long starting in June, and we have summer interns. You saw them on the screen, but I'm going to embarrass them. If you're a summer intern, raise your hands. Look around. We've got Riley Hefner, Maya Pleasure, Andrew Nichols, and Valerie Cecilio. Give them a round of applause. So the big thing that we do over the summer is Hot Damn, and that starts June 9th. And it's a lot like this. We eat dinner, we do worship, and instead of doing a talk, we have a group conversation, kind of like group Bible study, which is really cool. You know, there's not as many people over the summer, but that gives us the opportunity to kind of interact in a more intimate setting. On top of that, you know, we'll be doing stuff like going on camping trips, going tubing. So if you're gonna be here, come say what's up. The house is open. The summer interns want to get one-on-ones with you. And if you're going to be out of town, then come visit. Okay. Up next, I'm going to recap some of those other announcements in the video. Tomorrow is, yes, the Year in Soup and Salad Soiree. This is our time to celebrate everything that God has done in our community this year. We're going to say goodbye to graduating seniors and other people that are leaving. We're going to say goodbye to the ministry assistants. We love them so much. And we're going to say hello to a new group of ministry assistants and graduates. So it is not too late to sign up, but if you want to eat dinner with us at 6 o'clock, we need you to sign up tonight. You can see Sarah Cat in the back. She's got a clipboard. The dinner is $5, and if you've signed up for dinner and not paid yet, you can pay tonight. We need you to pay. You can Venmo at UGA CCF, or you can see Kristen to pay. On Saturday, we're having a women's bruncheon at the Botanical Gardens. Sandra's going to cook some delicious homemade breakfast. So ladies, come on out to that and talk to Sandra or Brooklyn if you want more information. Next week, during finals week, I mentioned this at the beginning, but we have a lot of stuff going on. Starting on the last day of class is slide day. I just wanted to show you some pictures. This is from last year. Look at how fun this is. It was an absolute bop, so we want you there. Make sure that you bring a bathing suit and a towel. We'll probably go get some snow cones at some point, so, maybe bring some cash. The next day, on reading day, is park day at Herman C. Michael Park, starting at 2. If you want a ride, then you can come a little bit before 2 and carpool with us. That'll be really fun. And then, of course, we have finals food at 9 p.m. every night before a final. So come on out for all of those things. Let's see here. On Friday, we are having an Asian American and Pacific Islander potluck. Christian and MJ are putting that on. You don't have to bring something, but you can bring something. And if you were to bring a side, bring something that can feed 4 people. Know exactly what to bring for a potluck like that. Then talk to Christian, and he will give you a better idea. Okay, I'm pretty sure that is everything. If you need more information on any of our events, you can download this QR code, and it'll take you to our Google Calendar. Also, for stuff during the summertime, pay attention to the Google Calendar because we'll be putting events up as we figure out exactly what we're doing. Right after this, we are going to have a fire pit outside. We're going to be vibing, hanging out. Also, we're going to have some cinnamon rolls. I'm glad that I looked behind me because I would have forgotten that. I was like, are people really excited that excited for a fire? But can't you smell it? It smells delicious! If you are newer here, if this is your first time and you haven't been to our welcome corner, it's right out the doors and to the right. This has been an amazing night and an amazing year. I'm going to pray to end us out. Everybody do what you do. Hey God, thanks for a great night. Amen. Hello, everybody. Cinnamon rolls are ready. Go in the kitchen and get some.